You know that friend who takes 3 days to respond to "What time are we meeting?" The one who leaves you on red for a week and then replies with "Sorry, just saw this," but then you see them texting someone else instantly, like rapid fire responses, full conversations happening in real time. And you're sitting there thinking they hate you, they're avoiding you, or worse, it's so obvious they value this random crush they're talking to way more than your years of friendship. You're thinking, you can't even text me back for 10 seconds while you're literally sitting on the toilet? Everyone scrolls their phone in the bathroom, right? Don't even pretend you don't. But then you see them in person and they're completely normal, like nothing happened. Because to them, nothing did happen. They're just bad at texting. And honestly, there's some wild psychology behind why some people are absolutely terrible at digital communication. See, being a bad texter isn't about laziness or not caring. It's about how your brain handles digital communication and why responding to a simple "hey" can feel impossible for some people while they're having entire conversations with someone else. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain sorts tasks into categories: urgent versus not urgent, easy versus hard. And for some people, texts automatically get filed under "I'll do this later," like cleaning out that junk drawer. Not because the person doesn't matter, but because the format doesn't feel urgent to their brain. And here's the really fascinating part. People with ADHD have what's called the 2 second or 2 week pattern. Either they respond instantly because their brain loves the quick dopamine hit of social interaction, or they don't respond for weeks because their brain has decided that text is now an impossible task. There's no middle ground. It's all or nothing. But why do bad texters respond instantly to some people but ghost others? It's not about who they like more. It's about what their brain finds stimulating in that exact moment. New crush? High dopamine. Exciting news? Instant response. But routine check-in from a friend? Low stimulation. Gets mentally filed away and forgotten. Their brain is literally chasing dopamine hits, and your "hey, what's up" doesn't trigger the same reward response as someone they're romantically interested in. It's not personal, it's neurological. Now let's talk about decision fatigue. Every text is a tiny decision. What tone should I use? How many exclamation points? Is this emoji weird? And when your brain makes hundreds of decisions every day, it runs out of energy. So that text from your friend gets filed under "I'll deal with this when I have brain power," which might be never. There's the perfectionism trap. Some bad texters aren't ignoring you because they don't care, they care too much. They read your message, start typing, delete it, rewrite it. Does this sound weird? Too casual? What if they misinterpret my tone? 3 hours pass. They still haven't sent anything. Now it's too late to respond without explaining the delay, which makes it more complicated. So they just don't send it, and the anxiety builds. Here's the thing about texting that makes it worse. In person, you have tone and facial expressions. You get immediate feedback. But in text, you're guessing the intention from punctuation. A period instead of an exclamation point feels like anger. Okay versus okay mean completely different things to an anxious brain. So some people just avoid the whole interaction. And there's another layer. Some people genuinely don't value texting as a real connection. If you feel close to people through shared experiences or deep in-person conversations, texting feels empty. So when you text them, they're not being rude. They literally don't process it as important. They'll see you Saturday and catch up then. That's the real interaction. The text is just noise. Here's what's fascinating. Bad texters have a completely different relationship with their phones. Good texters see phones as a connection. Bad texters see phones as an obligation. Every notification is a demand. Every message is a task. And if you're already dealing with work emails and family group chats, your brain treats texts like a second job. Bad texters aren't even consistent. They'll respond instantly to one person and ghost another. But it's not personal. It's about what's happening in their brain in that moment. If your message comes in while they're focused on something else, it vanishes. If it arrives when they're bored and scrolling, they might respond immediately. It's about their attention in that second, not about you.
There's also something called time blindness. Some people's internal clock is broken. What feels like I'll respond in 5 minutes becomes 3 hours without them noticing. They genuinely thought they just checked their phone. They have no idea how many days have passed. And then when they finally look, they're hit with guilt, which makes them avoid responding even more. But here's the complicated part: the guilt spiral. Bad texters know they're bad texters. They feel terrible. They see your message, they mean to respond, time passes. Now they feel like they need to apologize, but apologizing makes it a bigger deal, so they wait to craft the perfect, "sorry, I'm terrible at this" message, which takes mental energy, so they wait longer. They're not ghosting you on purpose, they're trapped in an anxiety loop. And here's the truth: some bad texters actually prefer phone calls because a phone call has a clear start and end, no ambiguity about tone. When it's over, it's over. For some people, that's way less stressful. Bad texters also have a different definition of urgent. To them, if something truly needs an immediate response, you'd call. A casual, "hey, what's up?" doesn't feel urgent, so it gets forgotten. They're not being dismissive, they're just operating on a different system. For some people, being a bad texter is actually a boundary. Modern culture expects you to be available 24/7, to respond immediately, and some people are quietly saying no to that. Not responding quickly is their way of saying, "I decide when I engage." It's about protecting themselves in a world that demands constant availability. But here's an interesting fact. Bad texters often have incredibly deep relationships in person. They're present, engaged, they remember everything. But their digital communication doesn't show that. So people who haven't met them in real life think they don't care. It's like they're two different people: digital ghost versus real life best friend. Bottom line, some people respond instantly to every message, and you respond to maybe 40% within a week if you remember. Your brain assigned different priority levels to digital communication, and that's less about who's texting you and more about how your brain organizes tasks, manages anxiety, and protects itself from overwhelm. At the end of the day, being a bad texter is usually some combination of how your brain is wired, perfectionism, digital exhaustion, and not viewing texts as important. But you're not alone, even if the people waiting for your responses feel pretty lonely. And if this resonated, drop a comment about whether you're a bad texter or the one waiting on responses, because I'm genuinely curious how both sides experience this. And if you want more psychology content explaining why you do weird things, subscribe, because we're breaking down all the ways your brain complicates your life.